Hello everyone, my name is Rick Jenkins and I'm the publisher at SCBIZ News, the media company that serves high-level business executives throughout South Carolina. Welcome to SCBIZtv and welcome to the 23rd episode of our ongoing video series, Coffee With. Today I'm having coffee with Jimmy Fowler. Jimmy is the Executive Vice President and Director of Commercial Banking and Strategic Initiatives for Countybank. Founded in Greenwood in 1933, the bank now has locations stretched across the upstate. And so here with all the scoop on Countybank is my friend Jimmy Fowler. Jimmy, how you doing?
Thanks, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, it is good to have you here. You know, we used to see each other quite a lot, but over the last year we have not, and that's unfortunate. But how have you been?
Oh, we've been great. Family's been well. Things are going well, and the bank has actually had its best year ever this past year, right, in the middle of all this COVID
stuff. Isn't that crazy? I heard about that, and I want to get into that. But before we do, let's talk about you for a second. You are a South Carolina boy, born and raised where?
I was originally born in Gaffney, but I was raised in Belton.
In Belton. Carolina. And you went to Wofford, is that right?
Right.
Got a degree in Wofford. What was your economics? Economics. So we'll call you a South Carolina boy.
Yeah.
You've been around here a long time. You have been working, speaking of a long time, you have been working in the banking industry, dude, for 40 years almost, right?
Yeah. You know, what's unusual is that I've only had 2 jobs.
That's right.
Most bankers have had 10.
You know, you're exactly right. Sometimes I have trouble keeping up where people are moved, but you've had 2, like you say. Let me see if I got it right. Countybank, 23 years, and Wachovia, which is now Wells Fargo, but Wachovia at the time for 15, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So you find a place you like and you stick there.
You know, I'm a very loyal person, and they provided the opportunity for me to join Countybank years ago, and it's kind of where I plan to retire.
Right.
Great bank.
Great. It is people, a great bank.
Great culture.
Yep, it is. You know, I have been in the upstate, living in Greenville for I guess 17 years now. And Countybank was the first bank that I was familiar with when I came to town, and I don't even remember how that happened. But it was the first financial brand that I was aware of when I came to the upstate, and I didn't meet you too long after that process. And you and I have kind of seen each other off and on for years, and so it's an honor to have you here. Let's talk about Countybank. Founded in, 1933,
right. And
for the folks who may not know, that was at the end of the Great Depression.
Right.
Depression 28 to 33, 34, something like that. You don't start businesses in the Depression, especially financial institutions, but Countybank did, and it's still thriving today.
You know, it's interesting. You had 5 local business people that decided to start a bank, and they were looking for, well, what do we call it? And they said, well, why don't we call it the County Bank? And that was our first original name. And then in the early 2000s, we morphed into Countybank. And so we have a whole variety of lines of business that are very profitable and so forth.
Right. Now, Countybank is what we refer to as a community bank, right? And I don't think that there is a specific definition for a community bank, but I think we all know what it is. A community bank is dependent on relationships. I think there are certain traits that define community banks. So not only relationships, but community banks are going to serve, comparatively at least, a larger or smaller geographical area. And then I think what really sets a community bank apart is its willingness to make decisions based on relationships, sometimes even family histories when it goes into lending approval processes. But it's really that community feel that sets a bank like you apart, right?
Yeah, it is, Rick. And what our desire to be is to be the community bank in the upstate of South Carolina. That's our goal and objective. And with years like last year and the the people that we've hired, that we've brought on, that we're continuing to grow. We've opened 2 offices in Anderson. We've got an office in Greer now, and we're looking for other places. We are just opened up an office down in Simpsonville.
Right.
So
A few in Greenville.
That's right. Yeah, we've got one on Pelham Road and one downtown where my office is, and so we it really boils down to people, and we have a great culture and we have great people, and they're people who want to be family people, and that's really what County Bank is all about.
Understood. Let's take a switch of gears here. So let's talk about technology. Technology becomes more and more important to us every day, right? Year after year. I don't think I could go a day, and I'm not even joking, my wife would agree with this. I can't go a day without my phone and without my iPad, right? And so we have to keep up with technology and all those advancements, and a bank is no different. Mobile banking, mobile apps, online banking, you all have to be at the top of your game so people can get service quickly. You're a community bank, that means you're smaller. Can you provide the same type of technology that a larger conglomerate would provide, like a Bank of America or a Wells Fargo?
In the world of technology, it's a flat surface. You and I are old enough that we can remember the bag phones. You remember the bag phone that
Yes.
and you plugged in the cigarette lighter?
I sure do.
And so things have changed since that time. We have moved into, quote, digital banking, and digital banking is really just a word that means you've got all these other mediums that you can do banking. Whether it's a mobile application, for example, we have mobile banking, and so I can take a check and take a picture of the check, flip it over, take a picture on the back where I signed it, and hit enter, and wham, it's in my account. So, but technology, again, from a community banking standpoint, is a flat world, and we have all of the same services that some of the larger banks have.
Not only, if we're sticking with technology for a second, not only does technology present us with ways to do everything you just said, the good stuff, but there's also the opposite end of that spectrum, and that is things like cybersecurity issues as it relates to, we'll call them cyber criminals. People can now use that technology to hack into a financial institution and potentially steal contact information or even drain a bank account of a customer. I would assume that in the same way that you can provide top-line technology to your customers, you can also protect them as well, just like a larger bank would.
Top of mind is safety, security, and confidentiality. Those are the most important things that we have to do as an organization. And we have great IT people. We have great IT support across the organization, as well as our vendors and partners that help keep us safe.
Jimmy, before we go any further, let's talk about County Bank's lines of service. Tell me what you specialize in.
Yeah, so obviously we're not just a bank. We have personal and commercial banking, but we have all these other lines of business. We have an insurance agency. We have a trust department. We have an investment area. And one of our big stars this past year was we have a very large mortgage division. And so we did over $600 million of secondary market mortgage loans. And I think one of the greatest things that they do and that we have is that we have what's called in-house underwriting. So the decision is made right down the hall rather than a processing center in Charlotte, for example. And so all of those lines of business create part of our profitability. And so whether it's a mortgage loan or an SBA loan, all of those lines pull together and really make a difference in our organization.
$600 million in mortgage loans in 2020?
Correct. Yeah. They did a great job. They're an amazing group of people. They really are.
Okay, Jimmy, I tell you what, let's switch gears again here for a second. 2020, tough year. You said just a second ago, best year you guys have had, right? It wasn't the best year that a lot of folks have had. I am so glad that 2020 is behind us. So many of us had to find ways to pivot, right, to do things differently. As a matter of fact, SCBIZtv, folks, that you all are watching right now was one of our pivots. It's been around, we started this about a month after the pandemic hit, so that was kind of the way we pivoted. I'll tell you one of the ways that you guys really helped folks during the pandemic, and that is through the PPP loans, Paycheck Protection Program loans. Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read that you guys did a little over $61 million assisted in those loans, which equates to about 600 different loans. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's a lot of good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's I tell you what, to do over 600, I think it was like 660 loans, to do over 600 plus loans is just a lot of loans.
And a lot of different industries too.
And that was spread over about 25 different industries as well. And I'll give you a great example. There were the $1 million loans that are big customers, okay? But I won't tell you about a lady in Greer, Kevin Duncan, who's our city exec there in Greer, helped this lady. I mean, it's a pretty audacious experience just to put the application in place. And so Kevin sat down with her, helped her, walked her through it, and this loan was a $4,500 loan. I mean, and it was the difference between, she had just started up a business, and it was the difference in whether or not she survived or didn't survive, because she had lease obligations and other kind of things. And so when Kevin went to take her the check, she just broke down and cried. I mean, and I can tell those stories over and over and over. We have so many great stories of people who really need it.
That's heartwarming. I love to hear things like that. That's the definition of a community bank, right?
Right.
Getting to be able to do those kinds of things and interacting with people at that level within your community. That's great. I think I had seen in some of the stuff as I was preparing for this that more than or about 20% or a little more of your all staff was dedicated to processing these PPP loans over a period of time. You all had to really pivot, change what you were doing for quite a while.
And Rick, and so many of these people they're dislocated from their office, and we've moved people around. We allowed some people, of course, to work from home. I worked from home for 3 or 4 months, and to not have any social interaction is a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
And to be able to get in touch with people. Thank goodness for cell phones, right? And Zoom meetings.
Oh, my goodness.
And all these other things that we have.
That we didn't know existed before.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
yeah.
Going back to the PPP loans, we actually have an SBA department. And that department is run by a guy by the name of Paul Pickart. Paul's been doing SBA lending for over 20 years. And we actually were recognized by the SBA as doing the most 7A loans of any bank in South Carolina. So while we're a community bank, you know, Paul has done a remarkable job. He was also named the 7A Banker of the Year by the SBA for the state of South Carolina. And Paul has really been the person who orchestrated and set up the processes that took place in the PPP loans. And so we will forever remember the PPP loans.
You said 7A.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so you've got all these different, you got the 504 loan and the 7A loan, but essentially the 7A loan is just a category of a loan.
I got you.
So
I got it.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you know, banking is so competitive in the upstate. Before you came, I was kind of looking at this. This is our annual Book a List resource guide. I hope you folks are aware of it. If you're not, grab one. Anyway, I was looking in here. There are 37 banks in the upstate listed in our Book of List. That is the definition of competition, right?
Yeah.
That is a challenging industry to be in. How do you find that going right now? Is it do you feel that competition, that competitiveness every day? What sets you apart?
It's hard to describe, but the one thing that's happening because interest rates are so low, you've got to do a lot more volume to make the same amount of money. And so whether you're a big bank or whether you're a community bank, the biggest challenge is that net interest margin squeeze. So you better be efficient with your people, or you might get left behind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I've known you for several years now, and I will say this. I find you always to be a good guy. I find you to always be friendly, and I find you to be very customer-centric. And I think that those traits also outline a really successful, good community bank. And so I think you got a really good combination there with County Bank and Jimmy Fowler. I appreciate you being here, man.
Well, I'll tell you, Rick, in closing, my dad always told me, he said, he was a banker.
Yeah.
And now my son's a banker too.
Yeah.
But he said, always do what is in the best interest of your customer, even if that means sending them down the street. And, you know, I feel like that what County Bank is about, it's about relationships. It's about answering the phone on the weekend. Right now I've actually got an 8 o'clock conference call on Sunday night with a customer because they're out of town, they're flying back in. That's the only time when we can get together. That's an example of some of the things that County Bank provides to their customers.
Good stuff. Jimmy, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Folks, that is Jimmy Fowler. He is the Executive Vice President at County Bank. We appreciate him dropping by. Stick around on SCBIZtv for a little while longer and see if there's anything else you might like to watch. We've got almost 150 business-related videos that are archived right here. I'm sure you'll find something you like. We'll see you next time. Thanks.